Chris, how's your Thursday treating you?
We're doing all right. Thanks, Scott, for that introduction. Exciting day here. For those that don't know, we released early pre-market data for our users today, starting 4 a.m. So we're going to go over a few different things. But normally it's a trading studio with Andy and Jamie. We're the 10th of March, believe it or not. March, a third of the way through, I'm cruising through. Just a reminder for everybody here, the disclaimer, make the lawyers happy. We are a publisher of content. Nothing you see here is, recommendations from myself or trade ideas or anybody else that represents trade ideas. You'll see us talk about some charts and some setups and things like that, but, to each in their own, managing your own risk as we make no recommendations. Agenda for the day, we'll do a market recap, Holly recap. I'm stealing from what Andy had done on his last um, trading studio several weeks ago, since we had the test drive and he's been gone for a little bit. But I've been doing a lot of racing. It's actually switched me up from a lot of the swing trading I was doing, kind of timely, I guess, to move back towards day trading a lot, especially in this kind of whippy market. So we'll go over some of that and see how that's looking. We're going to look at formula editor. We have some custom abilities. It's not a code compiler, but a way for us to use some of the code that exists within the system, and it's going to tie into the races that I use. And then if there's some time left over, I'll do a couple of chart requests. I'd just like to get into the community that we have built around the software. Really robust community. It gives people that are on the fence about joining us or not a chance to come participate. It starts with the Traders Room with Barry, Monday through Friday. He's now starting at about 8 a.m. the stream, and he gets live on the mic about 9. So you can come, hang out, no subscription necessary. We think that our product is so great that you hang out in there long enough, you're going to want to be a part of what we're doing here. Mondays are Jamie and Steve with office hours. Steve takes over trade of the week. On Tuesdays with Andy riding shotgun. Wednesday, we do it a little different with Dan Merkin, our CEO, and Brad Williams. They're doing a questions and answers demo. They're showing you the real high stuff coming down the pipeline, things that are being worked on by the dev team, some of the stuff we're not always showing off. They've got access to that. And then, back here on Thursdays with Jamie and Andy. Just for those that aren't aware, we do it like in every other week. So it'll be Monday and Wednesdays one week. The next week is Tuesday, Thursday. So it's staggered like that. And then the all important that I like to highlight down here are support webinars. Every day, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern to 1, we do an open forum on YouTube. And Barry gives up that stream for an hour. You get a different trader, different personality, different set of market thoughts. Monday through Friday at noon Eastern to 1 Eastern. And then Monday through Friday, I come back in again myself at 3:30 Eastern to about 4:30 Eastern. And same thing, an open forum, free for all. You're having trouble with anything in the software. You just want to come and talk charts and setups and things like that. We can talk those things. So, come and join us. All right. Just another shot here about the daily support session. All right, and stock racing, that's what we're going to get into here in a moment. So we're going to go ahead and close this all up for now and get into it. So the first thing I want to do here is go into a market recap. I'm going to look at the SPY. We'll start there. And I think a lot of people are going to find that if you bring up a lot of charts, especially if they don't have volume, they're going to mimic the SPY really well. All right, so something I want to show here is this. If we look at, for example, CYH, all right, this is something that a gentleman, the afternoon webinars that I host, has been talking about a lot, and he has some fundamental reasons that he likes this. And what I like to point out to him is look at the 15-minute chart of that. I'm going to bring over a 15-minute chart of the SPY here, right? And watch these similarities. And this is where volume and things like that come in and where it ties into this market recap. CYH gap down, the SPY gap down, recovered. The SPY moved down, CYH moved down. We move kind of sideways. SPY went up, CYH went up. Look at the volume here, doing normal volume over the last 10 days on that relative volume. So these are things you want to keep in mind in, I want to tie into the market recap here for you going forward. Watch these items, all right? Pay attention to them. Is the stock that you're looking at, is it moving with the market? Is it moving on its own? I think that's really important. So let's come back to that SPY though real quick here. And it's I won't call it a bear market, but it's certainly a much bearish tape. For a long time, every time we got a sell off, the buyers came in, they picked it back up. We continued to just make higher lows all the way through. And the first real hiccup happened here in the fall where where we took out the prior lows. All right. But, we gapped up, we moved up. All right. And we could still see some more violent selling shortly afterwards. So maybe this is a sign that the winds were changing. All the same, we seem to continue to all-time highs regardless of all the things that were happening. But calendar turn, year turned, and things have changed since then. And now we zoom in a little bit. Let's kill those drawings and bring it back in. From a technical standpoint, we top here. And now we start to see we make lower highs. So a lower high, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. And I would say for the bulls, if they can't get a close above yesterday, we then make another lower high again for another week here, and just more ammo for the bears. The other thing I want to note for this is something we talked about in our spaces a lot. There's been no real violent selling or capitulation. In the overnight futures, there's been a lot of selling, but it's recovered right before the open. But there hasn't been that real violent spike down day that just really held you down there. It's just a slow, steady grind through all these weeks, and that's what makes such a tough market, especially for swing traders. So just something to keep in mind as we do these market recaps. I always like to, and not all the other guys do this, but I like to compare the SPY with the RSP. We'll bring that up. So the SPY is going to be weighted by market cap, where the RSP is evenly weighted. So same 500 stocks, but a different weighting. And that's a much different picture we're actually looking at now. Same stocks, different weighting. And when we look at this, look all the way back to the spring here, all right, and to here. We're just stuck in this long, long range. We popped out of it, popped in it, 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 and we held the range, as a matter of fact, the bottom of that range, and we're right smack in the middle of that range again. So kind of a tale of two tapes, definitely some bearish tape out there, some sideways action tape. And that's what we kind of make of it. We look at the Qs where we're a lot more tech heavy, and you're really affected more in the Qs with things like Facebook again getting slaughtered. I know Amazon had a good day today with that announcement of the stock split. Regardless of what it does or does not do for actual, fundamentals of the company or anything like that, that's irrelevant. On top of a $10 billion buyback. But my point being is, Amazon, had that great earnings, and we saw after that earnings we had a great move up, and it was going to save the market, and it's really been ground down again. We popped back up into this range of Amazon here, and you can see I have these ranges that are put here again, and these big heavy weighted stocks are really going to affect those cap weighted indexes like the SPY, the Qs, so on and so forth. So, again, range, home on the range. Range is the theme, and some of these ranges start to look more and more bearish how they're affecting things. So, we've been, we're not a bear market in all markets yet, but we're certainly in a sell the rip type of market. We'll look at the IWMs, at your small caps, your Russells, and this starts to look a little more suspect here. Here we go again, range. We've got this range for all this time, going all the way back to the beginning of last year, as a matter of fact. And we take it out, just at the beginning of this past month of February. And now, are we making a lower range right now? I mean, the case is to be made for that. And do we head lower from that? So, watch those small caps in that sense. And we'll go last but not least here, the diamonds, DIA, that's going to be your Dow 30. And the same kind of case, just no real big capitulation or sell-off, just a slow, steady grinding and pounding over and over again. I said that was going to be the last. I lied. Let me show you MDY. This is a mid-cap trust. And again, home on the range. So you've got this mid-cap trust. It's evenly weighted. And again, March last year, we enter this range. March this year, we're still in that same range. That same theme, popping out, popping in, popping out, popping in, popping out, popping in. We popped out to the downside, popped up, almost tried to get to the top again, and then back to the downside and up again. So I think you get the picture of what I'm trying to paint here, that it's just it's a nimble market. Buying and holding for days on end is not working the same. So that'll be the short and skinny of the market recap that's right there. We'll follow into the next part of the agenda here, and we're going to look at Holly real fast. So some things that I wanted to bring to the attention of Holly. Person and machine, human and machine, I think Holly works best. I know a lot of people want to just be able to automate it and go to work and come back and count their money. And I'm not saying that over the course of a year, you might or might not be able to be profitable doing that. But I think you certainly want to have a good feel for the market, market mechanics, the software, trading in general. If that's something that you're looking to do, I don't think that's someone that's been trading for 6 months. That's more someone that's been trading for a few years. And that's kind of my thoughts on Holly. So I like to be unbiased with Holly as well. She has her good alerts, she has her bad alerts. So, the first thing I'm going to bring is a bad alert here, and that's going to be MGY right here. And it's a don't fight the trend work. Uh, don't fight the trend type of alert. MGY, we're looking at crude oil, gas, and petroleum. We know that's a sector that's been very strong, very volatile lately, but look at the trend on this. Look at this long-term trend all through here. And we see that, every sell-off has been met with buyers every time on this stock. So Holly decided she'd be a seller of it today, unfortunately. And today was a day the buyers came back in after a couple of, big move days of selling off there. And let's zoom in a little bit more and take a better look at that. And so this is again why I believe, human and machine. Holly doesn't know that this is in oil and gas. That's, not part of a filter set that we can create or do. And, she's built on the same technologies that you can build scans on. So, Holly doesn't know it's oil and gas. She just knows what the algorithm told her. The algorithm was a part of a gap down algorithm. We gapped down. We got stuck range bound. That was another part of the algorithm, I believe. And it looked like it was ready to sell off. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. The buyers came in. Oil started moving up again today. Nat gas started moving up again today, and so did MGY. And unfortunately, Holly was the victim of that there. And again, why just blindly following any machine doesn't make sense. The human and machine together, there's knowledge you'll have that Holly doesn't. There is metrics that Holly has that can be processed much faster than a human can. So, that's one downside one there. And, we're going to find the same thing here um, with LGO, all right, but to the opposite side, all right. We're looking at energy again, all right. So Holly, we're looking at energy, but she decides to go long energy on this one with uranium. Overall, energy strong, not just the oil sector, And we've seen what energy URA, that's your uranium ETF. There's a beautiful move in this recently off these lows here, and so LGO has been a benefit of that. And so we find ourselves with a nice little entry down here, not the most liquid of stocks, but certainly with 400,000 shares traded today, you could certainly get in and out of that. We'd found a nice range here. We made a nice 15, 20, 30, 40, 45, an hour move or plus, and we held up at the top of the range. So, the good, the bad, and the ugly with Holly there. The same theme continues, big winner from here. And again, what are we looking at? We are looking at energy. All right. So once again, Holly finding it in this range here, and eventually we're able to break up out of that range. So, a great way that I think a lot of people should be using Holly, especially let's say you do let her enter automatically, all right? And then you want to manage from there. Maybe you're setting, price alerts. If you don't like her stop, you set a price alert at a stop you might like, all right? You right click the chart, price alert, long from a price below. If we fall below, then you have a price alert on the chart telling you, hey, we're approaching the stop that you happen to like. Maybe Holly doesn't like. And to the upside, we could say the same thing. Maybe you don't want to jump in right away with Holly. You're not running her automation. Again, a price alert towards the top of that range, and it's going to alert you saying, hey, we're starting to break this range, and this is something that you told me to let you know we were interested in. So I think price alerts, they're a really great way to utilize. Here's a whole set of them that I have from the day here. I like to clean them up at the end of the day. So we'll look at one more here. MGY, last one, like I said, good, bad, and ugly. We'll go back to some ugly again. BHP, someone that's looking at charts, studying to make my move for CMT designation here. I look at this chart and I'm not crazy about this chart, all right? And unfortunately, Holly was and got beat up on it. But what do I not like about this chart? The gapping around that this thing does all over the place. Very hard to predict where it's going. And again, we've got a nice trend going up here, and Holly was fighting that trend once again. So, it ties together. It's a puzzle. We get to choose the pieces of the puzzle that we want to use when we're trading, and I think that's very important And very important thing for traders to recognize that every puzzle that we're putting together as traders is unique unto ourselves and the tools that we're using. So that is the good, the bad, and the ugly from Holly. Now, what I wanted to get into is the stock racing. I'm very big into it, and there's a few reasons why I'm very big into it. The first part that I want to share with the stock racing is it revamps top lists. So we can take these top lists. These are two top lists that I've created, and I'm going to go into the configure them in a moment. But what I want to show you is on a time frame. If we were looking today, let's say at 2 p.m., all right? And let's go back even further. Let's look at this at 10 a.m. You've got all these stocks that are here, all right? But what does this mean? We could look at it and, it's just a sheet, it's a grid, and it tells us things, and we can go chart by chart and kind of try to figure out what's happening. Is this really moving now? Is this the one that's moving now? That's where the races come in. And what we do is the top lists we tell the top list, I want you to bring me these stocks. I think these stocks, based on the metrics that I've set up in the configuration, these are quality setups, I believe. Then I want you, race, to show me how those stocks are moving at that current time. And that's how they work as a symbiotic relationship. So this first race that I want to show and I'm going to share out, a very straightforward, easy one. The second race, a little different, and that's going to bring us into customs eventually, but I want to go over some things that I did and saw in races today and show you some screenshots and video capture. So we're going to look here at the configure of this race. All right. And if we come to the window specific filter, we're looking at stocks between $4 and $50. Relative volume is 3. Relative volume is going to mean something different to different platforms. In our platform, a relative volume means this is the average ratio over 10 days. So 3 meaning we're doing 3 times normal volume over the last 10 days. All right. 1 is our baseline. If it was 0.5, it's doing half the volume it's normally doing over the last 10 days. We have to have traded at least 125,000 shares today. We are up from the previous day's close. We can be no more than minus 0.15 below the VWAP, and the 5-minute volume is 300%. This means here that, again, it's a 10-day average of 5-minute volume segments, and we're doing it in a percent versus a ratio of the relative volume. So this means we're doing 3 times the normal volume over 5 minutes given the last 10 days average of that 5-minute clip. 100 being normal, 1,000 would be 10 times, so on and so forth is how the math works of that. So very straightforward what's going on in the scan, and that's what it's bringing us. The part for the races changes a little bit here. The columns is where we can select our racing from. So you can see here in this scan, I have a 2-minute change percent column, okay? But if you look in the window specific filter, we have no such value in that 2-minute. It's just being displayed as a column, that's it. So we're telling the top list, we want you to display that information, but we don't want you to scan on that information. So as we exit the configure and we look at the setup of this, we can see all these here that I've used. All right. There's a 2-minute change. It's displaying what's happened in the last 2 minutes up or down, but we're not using that to scan on. What I do is in my race setup, and we're going to come to that now, we set up the race like thus. Our goal is time. We're racing based on a time frame. I've set my races to race for 3 minutes. I use 10 lanes because I think 10 stocks is plenty good to look at one time. And then here's the change, 2-minute percent, all right? And that's how I'm racing this, all right? And we're setting it for a delta value. We're replacing the cars and auto running, meaning that if a stock no longer meets the criteria of the top list, I don't want to see that stock anymore, all right? And I want this to continue to replace those cars. If something now meets the top list that was not meeting it prior, I want to see that stock now. And then auto run just means the race is going to run when it finishes after that 3-minute time frame. And take that a step further for those of you that are wondering, when we want to do this, here's our top list. We can right click. Here's our launch. All right, this is the configure of the actual race. And what I've done to show as an exercise, we're leaving time as the goal. We're setting it as 10 lanes. Now make sure you've got a wide enough window here to include 10 lanes essentially. Then here we're based on, and like I said, the based on we can choose from the different columns here, all right? And 2-minute change percent is what we're using. And we want to do a delta value. And for those that don't understand what that means, that delta value is telling you or telling me or telling us, show me what's happening now based on this 2 minute. I want to know what's going on now, not what's going on in the past. All right. And then again, auto replace, auto run. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share this scan itself out. Let me find that in my cloud real fast. Just take one moment. I'm going to select that, copy and paste. And there you are. So that's stock racing on rel volume, RSI, or no, sorry, VWAP, and 5-minute volume. All right, so you all have that now. If you want the exact race setup that I have, I'm going to share that with you as well. All right, and that top list and this race coordinate together. So we can go ahead, save or share to cloud. This is the beauty with Trade Ideas. We can save and share anything that we like. The caveat, there can be no customs. And so there's the actual race 2 with how I have it set up. Now, I implore you all to experiment with these things. Starting tomorrow, I'm actually going to take the same topless window and I'm going to create a new race. And in that new race, I'm actually going to switch things up. And I'm going to, if I launch races here again, instead of doing this on the 2-minute change, I'm actually going to do it on the relative volume tomorrow and see what's happening. I'm going to try to find things that are increasing in relative volume and see how that plays out against the races that I've been running. Now, I've been running these races for about 2 months, and I found some pretty decent success in them. On to race and top list number 2, and this is going to take us into some stuff that we normally don't do in these webinars, but I think you'll all find interesting to hopefully learn and understand, and you can always go back to the recording on this tomorrow to get a little more on it. So this top list here is a little different. We're going to come to the configure and the window specific filter. We're going to hide those unused again. And in here, you can see a lot of traditional filters here, right? But then you see these strange filter icons, UO and U16. And for those of you that aren't familiar, we have custom formula capabilities. What you cannot do in the customs is code compile. So for example, we do not have EMAs to scan on or filter on. So there is no custom EMA. But you can take different filters and put them together in different combinations that exist already with some simple C+ coding language. Nothing complicated in it, and we're going to shoot into that in just a moment here. So on this race, what I've done is I added 2 filters that actually don't exist in top list, but exist in alert windows. So if you were to go to your configure of a top list, you don't find 1-minute volume and you don't find 1-minute change. But if you went to the configure of an in the top list, they're not there, but if you went to the configure of an alert window, you would find those filters there by default. Since they exist within the system, we can place them in a cloud and add them to our accounts. So in this top list here, we are looking at relative volume of 3 minutes, 125,000 shares traded on the day, very similar to what we were doing before. Price between $4 and $40 were still similar. Now here's where we change things up. We're using an RSI instead of VWAP, 1 minute, so a 50 RSI on that. And then we have 1-minute volume at 4 times what it's normally doing, a 400% instead of the 5-minute at that same value, or at the 300 value, I believe I used. Then you notice here, instead of the 2-minute change column, I've got a 1-minute change column here. And that's what we're racing on in this. And that's going to be in the columns here, all right? And it's a custom. So I can share this out with you folks, but what you'll have to do is follow along or come back through this video to add the customs and then add the values to those customs. So the first thing I'm going to do here is share this into the chat again. Give me 1 minute to locate that. And so this is going into the chat for you. And then you can either follow along with me or you can check it out in the recording later tonight or tomorrow when it comes up and see how this is done. Now, the way I do custom formulas is like this. I come to our homepage. Sorry, loading up a homepage for us here. All right, I come to our home page and we have what we call our accounts management page. So everybody's going to want to log to tradeideas.com. All right, if you're trying to follow along, here's a quick link for you to press and get in there. All right, and up here where it says logged in, you're going to come to here and log in. All right, and this is your account management page. And what we're going to focus on is this custom formulas on the side here. And there's a lot of neat tools that are in here. You can check all those out in your time. All right, maybe get involved in some functions of the software you didn't know exist. So for this, we're coming to the custom formula section. Yours will look different than mine. And before anybody asks or starts saying, hey, he's got all these custom formulas, I don't know what most of these do. They come from users who had them in scans that I troubleshoot and trying to figure out why their scans aren't working. So I have them in my cloud simply from troubleshooting users. I don't know what probably 85% of these do. However, what we want to focus on is in the create new, all right? The help PDF and the filter codes. So the first thing we're going to do is locate this help PDF within here, all right? We can right click that and we're going to open in a new tab that'll bring us here. This is mostly the instructions on how the custom formula editor works, all right? There are a few codes that live in here that'll be important for you as well at some point if you do decide to go through customs. You can scroll through and find these different items and it goes in to talk about the icons that will be used in the custom formulas. We start at U0, we can go all the way to U99. Custom formulas have a limit of 100 per account. There is currently no way to increase that. All right. Descriptions, units, and top lists, and it goes into discuss what I just said about top lists, how there are some formulas and some filters that don't exist in top lists that do exist in our alert windows. We talk about formats for graphics and position and range. So you're well aware that, something like volume percent today, that has a different type of graph than your position and range graphs, all right? You can, again, go into some more detail on all these ideas and thoughts in here. We'll come to our standard operators. If you decide to string some of these codes together, that we'll go over in a moment. Very simple stuff for C programming. There's no coding language that you really need to understand. This is all very searchable, very easy to figure out. And then we start to come into some of the codes, all right? Price, last, most recent close, the open, time after the open, days of the week, today's high, today's low. Each one of these represents a code, all right? And here we can see how many shares were traded over the last minute, over the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Again, these are all items that you can go over in your own time, but I just want to show that these things exist within the system, okay? We can navigate back to the custom formula page. There's another page here that's very important for us to look at. We right click this, filter codes. This is where a majority of the codes live. Open the link in another tab and we can see these short codes. Here's price, all right, your spread, all right, all these are short codes. So for this exercise, what we need to install for what we're doing for this top list here is a 1 minute volume for the actual filter value that we're using, and then 1 minute change for the column that we want. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to find 1 minute volume percent. And here's the code, a bracketed capital V, lowercase o, L, and a 1 together. We can take that code, highlight it, copy it, come back to the formula editor. We're going to go to create new, and you're going to see here how it says U21. That means the next custom that I create will have this symbol U21 here. If you're starting with your first one, you're going to have a U0. If it is your second custom, U1, and so on and so forth, all right? So we click create new, and this brings us to the actual editor and where we put the source of the code. Click in that box, we right click and paste that code in here. Make sure that code pastes correctly. See how mine came out like that? Make sure it's all the way to the edge, all right? If you put the code in and it's wrong, so I'm gonna add another bracket just to show what's going on here, and I click save here, you're gonna see error, and it's gonna point to what that error is. Going to get rid of that bracket, all right? And what we need to do is put a description. What are we calling this? So this is volume 1 minute percentage. I have this already saved in here, but you can type it how you like. Volume 1 minute percent, done. Now what unit are we working in? We're working in percents. Format, we don't need a decimal. We leave it as a whole number. Graphic, we don't require a graphic for this. So we leave these all normal and we can press save. And again, we're going to see it's called U21 up here, all right? And we click save, And now you can see original source code. There's no error here whatsoever, all right? And now we can return to the list, all right? And we can come back and we can see that U23, it's gonna be floating somewhere in here, or U21, excuse me, there it is right there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete it from my cloud because I don't need it, I already have it, all right? And it's gone. But what we can look at now is I have U0 as 1 minute volume. It was the very first custom that I ever did here, all right? Once you put a custom into your cloud, what you're gonna wanna do is come to the menu bar and go to account and reset connection. And now when we go into the top list and we go to configure and we go to search, we can scroll to the bottom of the list and all your customs will be living here at the bottom, all right? And we can see U0, there it is, 1 minute volume percent. It is now within there. And you will add that filter to the scan, all right? And the filter, if you copied the original scan of this that I showed, you're gonna delete the value of that original filter. You're gonna put your 1 minute volume in there, whatever it is, whether it's U0 or U87 if you're got 86 other 86 other customs in there. And you're gonna put that into your formula or into your window specific filter and give it that volume of 400. The next part of this is going to be coming back to the filter codes, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to look for change 1 minute percent. Make sure we don't confuse it with dollar. So change 1 minute dollar, change 1 minute percent. We're going to highlight that code, P up 1, bracketed. Remember, capitalization matters, so that's why it's best to copy it. We come back to the formula editor. We're going to go create new again. All right. And we're still with U21 for me because I deleted the last U21. We'll put the code in, paste, make sure it pastes correctly. Description, this is change 1 minute percent. Again, because I've done this, it's saved that logic in there. You're just going to type that in, change 1 minute percent, or whatever you decide is appropriate for yourself. Again, we're working in percent for units. We don't need a decimal point. We leave a whole number. We don't require a graphic, and we're going to save that. And we can see original source code, %1. All right, we can return to list. We see that it's saved in there. Again, I'm going to delete that. I don't need it in my cloud. All right, oops. We want to delete, not edit. There we go. We're going to delete that. And again, you would come to the accounts, excuse me, the menu bar. You're going to account, reset connection again, and then you'll right click the scan and come to configure. And you're going to look for that 1 minute percent change. Let's expand this out. Let me find it. So change 1 minute percent, whatever yours happens to be. Mine that I originally put in is a U16, and you're going to show that column. All right. And that is a crash course in the customs that we can do here. On this race here, we race a little different than we did on the last race. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to show this race setup. And again, we're racing on time and 10 minutes and 3 minute on the race. All right. Or 10 lanes, excuse me, in the 3 minute race. So we're similar through there. Where we change is I'm racing this on 1 minute change, where I was racing this one on a 2 minute change. We stay with a delta value. We replace the cars. We auto run just the same. So I can't share the race out because this will never transfer properly because of the custom formulas, but you can set that race up just by right clicking this here, launch real-time stock race, all right? And you'll be able to launch that race with what I've done there, and you can refer back to this video to see all that set up again. Now, to note, relative volume does not work in the pre-market. So if this is something you wanted to use in the pre-market, just remove that relative volume filter and you'll be all good to go using in the pre-market. I would just also implore you to keep in mind that we have a minimum of 125,000 shares traded. So in the pre-market, obviously things are trading less, and 125,000 shares at 8 a.m. in the morning Eastern time is a lot different than 125,000 shares at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So keep in mind, I love the word relative. These things are all relative to themselves. So that's really a crash course in what can be done with custom formulas. You can get into some more advanced stuff certainly with the custom formulas. I've tried to play with things with myself, some success, some not successful on it. I don't really use them in scans, any of the formulas, other than if I need something in a top list that doesn't exist in the top list but does. For example, the 1 minute volume. You know, I played around trying to create cross alerts. I took took a 5 minute, excuse me, a 20 SMA on a 5 minute chart and a 5 SMA on a 5 minute chart and tried to create a value to find them crossing, something similar to an 820 cross for EMA and SMAs. It didn't turn out the way I wanted, but you know, I can find these crosses like this, just in equal scans. But you know, very simple. I took 2 codes. Those codes live within this instruction formula here. Here are your SMAs on different time frames. I took 2 of them. I highlighted them. It explains what's going on in here. And I put them together and I said, you know, I want to find one minus the other for them being above or below. Like I said, it works the logic, but it didn't find me what I was trying to look for in scanning. So there's a lot of rabbit holes to go down this. And so I've opened those rabbit holes, hopefully open your eyes a little bit more. So what are we at? We're at 5:40 for a time check. All right, excellent. We're looking good on times. So a couple of things I wanted to show for the races that I had going on today here. I have some screenshots I want to show. Let me find the right screenshots. Bear with me one moment while I'm looking through my items here. I don't think any really questions are coming in, which is better for me at the moment. All right, so here's a screenshot I want to show. Let me bring that over. I'm going to try to blow that up a little bit here. So here we go. We were looking at, you know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, all right? And, you know, had Y10 coming through the races here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And here's Y10, and let's look at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all right? And we could see we just made this huge move down and a big move back up, all right? So for those that like to play these kind of capitulation moves like this is the stuff that I'm seeing in that 1 minute race that's right there, all right? And that's being captured real time with the cars that are moving like this. So sure, you know, we can look at the top list, but the top list isn't showing me what's happening. The look under the hood, you see what I did there? A look under hood of the car, of the stock, is telling me what's actually moving in that sense, all right? Let me find another race here at a different time. I believe this might be in a screen capture that I did, actually. So let me bring this over. I was doing some recording, I'm trying to record some races and some things that are going on. You know, and so we can see here, you know, tough to get more zoomed in than this, I think, unfortunately. Zoom to fill, yeah. But you know, we can see different stocks that were moving in real time, and the top lists aren't going to show me how these items are moving at those times, is what I'm trying to get at here on these recordings. So you know, we look at F cell, all right, at 9:42. So let's look at F cell and what happened here. All right, so at 9:42, you know, in this first 15-minute bar, we're finding F cells moving kind of nice here. And, you know, we look at the big picture of this and we say to ourselves, you know, we're down here on the price right now with F cell and we got some resistance above there type of thing. All right, and so, you know, am I interested in F cell around here at this time? And, you know, not a bad move off of that. All right, there's definitely time to get in. It was choppy. All right, but we're in a choppy market. And, you know, as traders, we decide how does this fit our risk reward? You know, to take it a step further, doesn't have to be a day trade where we're looking at this. Look at this chart. We had this big move down. Now we've got this move that's coming up. And, you know, look at these items in here, right? Look at where we got rejected off of here, all right? On the high of the day. No coincidence that that happened to coincide. It's going to populate there. There you see it, all right? And if we make a move through here, maybe now we've got a move through here. Then maybe now we got to move through here. And this is what we do as traders. So, this is the more trader talk of things and how it is applied to the software. A lot of people, myself included, why I was not high on the races at the beginning is, how do I make money using these races? I didn't understand that at first. Now I understand it. Looking at this table of stocks that's going on right here, it doesn't tell me what I want to know. It doesn't tell me enough of what I want to know. Looking at these races here from that table, tell me what I want to know, to tell me how things are moving. All right. And, we can go through, I can scan through this video real fast and we can see other things that were moving here today. There were some different things that, really cooked for a minute and then they pulled back and they pulled back in resistance. All right. We could see here just a few minutes later, FSO was really taking off through there. All right. We can see how I was looking at it. I had alerts set to see, could it get through these different spots. All right. 655, and it made a move all the way up past $7. That's a nice day trading move, finding 50 cents like that. All right. Um, ESVN. All right. Same thing. There's another stock that was moving. All right. During the day today. And these things were pointed at me. All right. POLA. This was a play. It didn't work. If I remember correctly, it didn't look great to me. But nevertheless, we saw it and we saw what potential it could have. All right. So it made these actually real big moves. So if you're someone who likes to scalp, you want to play these real fast moves, that was there today. All right. We can see there's been a lot of action in that stock recently. All right. So this is how we're applying it to real trading. This is how I'm applying it to real trading. This is how you can apply it to real trading. Just keeping an eye on the time here. All right. We continue to fast forward through what I had going on here. All right. We see YEXT had been coming through races quite a bit. All right, so let's take a look at YEXT. All right, and we see here we made a nice move. An opening 15-minute candle, not too bad. We had about 40 cents after that opening 5-minute candle, excuse me. All right, range bound. So, some days we're going to get that dollar winner. Some days we're going to get a 15, 20, 30-cent winner. All right. This is what we apply it to. This is how we apply these things as traders. So I think one of the best questions anybody can ask themselves are the questions they can answer. How is this going to make me money? How is this going to make me money? And then the best thing we can do is demonstrate this to give those ideas. The next part that I want to show here is this. The races get tabulated throughout the day. All right, so you can see here, look how many times some of these stocks won races. Now, winning a race isn't always indicative of the move. But for example, ALTO, all right, this won a lot of races today. But we don't see a great move in ALTO, unfortunately. We're seeing it now in the after hours. But was that alluding to something? Who knows? But we keep our eye on it, right? We can see ARIS won some races today. This one was grinding up throughout the day, all right? Uranium, the ETF won, and we've already talked about some uranium stocks today, all right? So we see that that had some serious volume on it today and a nice bottoming tail on the daily chart for that as well. So not only can you use the races in real time to find what's pointing out at you, at the end of the day, you can start to go through, for those of you that day trade and do some swing trading and say, boy, AGRI, here we go. AGRI won how many races did we just see? Sorry, it skipped around on me. Where are you, AGRI? Won like 20 races today, it looks like. 23 races, all right? This might be something we want to keep our eye on moving forward. It might not be something you want to keep your eye moving forward. But I mean, to win 23 3-minute races today, that's a pretty big deal, I would say, for moving forward. So now you have some real nice historical data to reference in what's going on. Now, for all we know, this gaps down tomorrow and it's dead. For all we know, it gaps up to here. But wouldn't you want to be following it to know where the action is? Because that's what we're doing as traders. We want to know where the action is. Remember what I talked about towards the beginning in the market recap, CYH, right? No volume in this thing today. Follow the SPY to almost a T today on those 15-minute charts. I mean, those 15-minute charts, it'd be tough to find them more similar. Gap down, all right? Gap down, moved up, moved up, move down, move down. Races can show us where the action is. There was no action in that today, all right? So we got about 10 minutes left. I'm hoping that you all found that pretty informative. Let's see, can I program TI to alert me when a stock touches a particular moving average? Not really, Amit. We don't have an alert in that sense. You can do some workarounds with that. What I would point you towards is this, because our cross alerts aren't the greatest in a sense, but come to the configure of, I think this will actually be better if I do it like this. Here, let me show you. If you come to new and alert window, I think this is the best way to try to find cross alerts. Search the SMAs that you want. All right, search SMAs, and you're gonna have to work with what we offer in SMAs. And we're gonna just go filters on this for this here, because our cross alerts have a built-in volume algorithm in them that can cause them to come late while the volume algorithm has to be satisfied and it can't be removed. But you could find the SMA that you might want to see crossing in here, all right? And then you can add that filter, for example, and give it values that are near it. So, you know, you can use the show me function here and say, you know, for this SMA example specifically, you know, show me stocks that, you know, are no more than, let's say, 0.1 below it, all right? And also no more than, let's say, 0.25 above it, all right? And so now stocks are in between that SMA that come through here. And then you could add a 5-minute alert as my kind of go-to for this here. So come back to here and we could add 5-minute high. All right, and you could add that 5-minute high, and now you'll find stocks that are making a 5-minute high that are, you know, within that SMA parameters that you're looking at. And you could, you know, couple of different SMAs together to try to find things that are near crosses. And that's what I point you towards for doing crosses. Take some trial and error and some troubleshooting. But that's the way we can do that. Literally, all right, Mike. So yeah, I could use a cup of coffee too, but I'm going on hour 14 right now from this morning. Is this platform useful for day trading only? How can this be useful for others swinging? So hopefully I kind of answered that question as far as the swing scanning goes there a little bit. And you know, how can it be useful in swing scanning? You know, I have a go-to swing scan. I'm going to share that real quick. Try not to go into overtime here, but I call it My Evening Scan 1. This is an updated version of it. I'll share it first and I'll go over quickly how I personally use it. And what I tell people that are interested in swing trading, so let me share that. What I tell people is you get out of the scan what you want out of the scan, or what you see out of the charts, all right? Any scan can be a swing trading scan, but what's your swing trading criteria? If you say, I don't know, then, you know, there's not much anybody can do for you. Now, if you say my swing trading criteria is I want to see something that's closing near the high of 20 days, and I want to see X amount of volume, and I want to see this kind of RSI and things like that, well, then we can get something built, or you can get something built. We can help you build something that looks for it. So what I've done in this scan here, if we come to the configure, is I've told this scan, I want you to find me stocks that have a relative volume of 1. I want to see we're doing kicking around normal relative volume. Now, this scan works best in markets that are trending up. It's kind of an rising tide lifts all boats kind of scan, but it worked great for me for about 2 years. And when we hit the real choppy markets, I moved over back to day trading a bit more. With that said, we're looking at stocks that are around their normal volume for 10 days. It has to have traded 750,000 shares today. Price is between $4 and $40. It has to be at least 75% above the low of the 20-day range. Why 20 days? Because a market month is about 20 days, right? And then I want to see it closing strong. I want to see stocks that closed near the upper 25% of today's range, 75% above the low of today's range. So that's what I'm telling the scan to do. And the scan is sorting on the change from close percent, meaning the stocks that are up the most from the previous day's close are what's going to be at the top of it. And here we go. And we could look at some of these and see how they may or may not play. All right. Now I could look at this chart, and as a technician, I'm going to say, wow, that's an interesting level to be at. And if we can get a break above that, this thing might be able to run, and we can see what it's done in the past. And we go further and we can say it's a 3 mil float. That thing can really move. We traded 900,000 shares today. That's interesting. Has a massive short float. So if those people betting short are wrong, they got to cover now. All right. And so that's what we can do as a swing trader. But the scan is going to point us to the ideas, hence the name Trade Ideas. And that's the way we work at all this. So hopefully that's kind of making sense for you. Whoever was asking about for swing ideas, we go chart by chart. Again, beautiful chart here. And this is what I'm looking for in the scan. I want to find things that are curling up that might have strength coming off a recent bottom. All right. I don't want to find stocks that are in no man land though. All right. Halliburton, here we go again. All right. And a different look. We got real strength here. Look at the trend in this thing. Look at this trend. Look at these trends on this. All right. We've got real strength. Now I might say to myself, all right, we really extend, but energy's strong. All right. And that's where Halliburton's at. Maybe if I find myself with a pullback to here, I've got myself an entry to continue to ride this trend up. And that's what a swing trader does. And that's how we return to you, or you return to yourself, or the scans return to you swing ideas. All right. So there's this scan to help you with that. So there's a new one for you there, Mike C. That should get you going from that cloud there. Everybody should be able to link to that. That's saying there's an error, huh? Let me try. This strategy unable to find. Perhaps you copied it wrong. Well, let's fix it. Let's do this. Right click, save or share to cloud. We're going to save and share it. Copy, copy. That's odd. I don't know why that's deleted. Okay, try that one, everybody. Let me double check it here. All right, that will work. That should work. Here it is right here. So it just loaded for me, no problem. So there you go. My evening scan updated one. I apologize for that first one. I'm not sure what happened there. There we go. There we go. We got it. Thanks. Perfect. Excellent. So, all right, real quick, I'll take the first couple of charts that come in for request, and that's going to do it for me for the night. And while we do that, as a matter of fact, let me show you folks one other really wonderful thing here, alert window. All right, now our data used to start for scanning at 6:45 a.m. Eastern. I want to show you something that's just, it was a huge undertaking. There are so many people that deserve so much credit for this. And just amazing. The team that I work with, I'm super lucky to work with the people that I work with. That's one of the great things. So we're putting a pre-market high in here, all right, as the alert. There's nothing else in here. And what I want to show you is this in this time frame, historical time frame. Let's go with 4:05 a.m. 4 a.m. here on the date today. We're going to press OK, and we're loading, and look at that 4 a.m. data today. Pre-market highs. All right. The charts are going to follow any day now. Those charts will be coinciding with that, and you'll be getting this just like this full market data, which has been our #1 request forever and ever and ever. So look, there's full. Let me find something that's traded a lot recently. Let's go AAPL. Everybody trades Apple a ton. So if you look on my chart, there's post market data yesterday all the way to 8 o'clock a.m. when the post market closes. Here's today's open at 4 a.m. on the charts. You guys will have this any day now. It could be tomorrow, it could be the next day. So there's the chart data, full chart data. Here's the scanning data, full scanning data. We are rocking and rolling here. Excellent. That is working now. Perfect. I'm not seeing any charts coming in here, so I'm going to go going once on this chart. Hopefully I've answered everybody's questions. Hopefully I demonstrated a really solid way. No, we can't scan for dark pools, no level 2 or anything like that. We're based off level 1 data, so you have to get that from your broker. As I like to tell people, anybody that's on the fence about this here, we'll have another test drive coming in May, I believe. You can take a shot for about 2 trading weeks for $11. We have so much live support. These webinars go on. I'm available at least 5 hours live a day, 5 hours live a week, plus the other traders are combined for another 5 hours live a week. I can't tell you how many people email us, I need help, I need help, I need, and not one of those people that email show up 2-hour live sessions. I find it very offensive. I'm kidding, but in all seriousness, we're here so much during the day for you folks live. It's there. You know, what we can't do for you is devise a risk plan for you. You got to devise your risk plan. You got to devise your trading plan. What we can do is help you find a scan. You know, do we have a scan, every type of scan on the planet? Nope. But we certainly got a lot, you know, with over 500 data points. So, all right. Thank you, Mike C. I don't see any charts coming in. We are at the 6 o'clock mark in a few seconds. So I suppose we'll call that a wrap. And I'm going to look for the slides for turning this back over to Scott. Let me find my slides. Let's get those up here. And let's
Yeah,
go
thank
with
you,
the
Chris.
slideshow.
Thank you, Chris. Everyone seemed really engaged. Good presentation. So if you haven't checked out our stock racing, you can find out more information at trade-ideas.com/stockrace. It's a whole new way to visualize the data and learn all about it. Interactive Brokerage is one of the best short books in the business. They're very reliable. We integrate directly with them through our Brokerage Plus platform. Just go to trade-ideas.com/IBKR to look at how to create a interactive brokerage account. And we also do zero commission trading through E-Trade. So if you already have an E-Trade account or if you want to try them out, you can also connect your Brokerage Plus module within Trade Ideas to automatically trade or trade directly from Trade Ideas for zero commission through E-Trade. It's a great experience, probably one of the best ways to do no commission trading. One of our most recent ebooks is the My Favorite Strategy Indicators ebook from Dave Mabe, who incidentally created our backtesting module and is one of the major innovators behind our AI Holly and other items. So smart guy. Check out what he thinks about strategy indicators at trade-ideas.com/strategy just to get that download. And if you're not quite ready to become a subscriber, try the strength alerts. If you like the trade of the week, the strength alerts is a level up from that. It's $17 a month. You get 5 new trades every Sunday night. Trade-ideas.com/strength. It's curated by our own Michael Noss. You might be familiar with him. And if you want to go ahead and subscribe or do an upgrade, use the code MARCHON. It saves 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. So don't sleep on that if you want to get subscribed. And if you have any questions, email us, info@tradeideas.com. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/tradeideas. That's also where our live channel is found during the day. And follow us on Twitter at Trade Ideas. We've got at QuantBot. Steve Gomez is at TISTG. We've got Chris Varley at CVarley1734. And there's some other handles. If you interact with some of them, you'll find the other ones to follow as well. So thanks, everyone. As we mentioned at the top, there will be a recording available later on. So stay tuned tomorrow for an email from GoToWebinar with a link to the playlist. Thanks for taking over today, Chris. That was good. And thanks everyone for attending.
Excellent. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah, cheers.